Two-time Sportscaster of the Year Bill Riley's giving you meaningful insight and conversation to the sports teams and personalities that you care about right here on The Bill Riley Show on ESPN 700.
All right, final hour here on a Tuesday. Bill Riley Show. Rain beginning to fall here in downtown Salt Lake City. How about that? Well, the weather will clear up the rest of the week. But, yeah, a little spring shower for you here today. Final day of April as we head into May in the next day or so. Tomorrow will be May 1st. And Thursday will be 17 weeks from kickoff. If you can believe that, the college football season, 17 weeks from Thursday. Utah BYU will do battle down in Provo on August the 28th, which is 17 weeks from Thursday. Spring football's wrapped up everywhere. We're kind of getting into a little bit of more of a quiet time, though I will say with the transfer portal now in college football, we'll probably see a little bit of news here and there that we maybe wouldn't have seen in the past. Pac-12 gathering down in Phoenix this week for their annual spring fling. Lots of coaches and administrators getting together. Some media types as well, including our next guest, our friend from CBSSports.com. Of course, Dennis Dodd joining us here on the Bill Riley Show. Hey, Dennis.
Bill, how are you? Glad to have. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming back again. By the way, I was just thinking about you a few minutes ago. We did our 60 seconds of Stanley Cup hockey, and your Blues, big winners against Dallas last night, up 2-1 in their series.
They're starting to look like a blessed team. You know, they have the goal with 15 seconds left against Winnipeg, and then last night, four total goals in the last 7 minutes by both teams. They end up coming out on top. So the Blues have been the Cubs of hockey, if that makes any sense in their history. So we deserve this.
It's funny. I saw somebody on Twitter yesterday put something up about how the Blues have been around, I think, 1970 was their inaugural year?
67. This is their 51st season.
Okay, but they're kind of, when you think about them, and not for you because you're a fan, but they're one of those kind of nondescript franchises. They've never won big consistently, but they've never been consistently bad. They've had some down years. They're always good, but not great. And I asked somebody earlier, I said, when you think of the Blues, what do you think about? And somebody said Brett Hull. And that's been like 20. Yeah. It's been like 20 years since Brett Hull played for the St. Louis Blues.
25 years.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. They're the only. If you remember, the league doubled in size with 6 expansion teams in '67. They're the only one of those 6 that originally came in that hasn't won a Stanley Cup. So that's the curse that hangs over this franchise.
Well, maybe this is the year, Dennis, because it looks like this playoff's wide open when you eliminate Tampa Bay as early as they did. Maybe anything's possible right now, and Las Vegas out too.
I think so. Yeah, all the top. Well, most of the number 1 seeds are out in the first round for the first time, I think, ever. So that's healthy, right?
Dennis Dodd with us from CBS Sports. He put out his post-spring top 25 yesterday, and the University of Utah sitting squarely at number 12. Good spot for Kyle Whittingham's team. I'm frankly shocked that Alabama and Clemson and Georgia were at the top of your rankings, Dennis. It's hard to believe. Not much change. Before we talk about the rankings, what was your takeaway on Dabo's big contract last week, 10 years and $93 million?
Well, I mean, I didn't write this, but if I would have written something, I would have said, you know, you can make a case for him being underpaid, considering how that university and football program has transformed. In fact, Clemson officials put out like a PowerPoint that they used to sell, I guess, the trustees or whoever approved the contract about his economic impact on the university. And like we as fans we've already shot through the $9 million barrier with Nick and Harbaugh and some others. So that wasn't a big deal. I mean, the length of the contract makes him the highest paid coach, $93 million total dollars. But I think there's a case for him being underpaid with this deal, and he's absolutely going to be underpaid in year 10 because, you know, who knows what the average coach is going to be making then. And he may, obviously, if he keeps winning, he'll get renegotiated. But I think you make a great case he didn't get enough money. Now, there's the moral and ethical considerations about paying players, but your question was about that. So, yeah, I don't think they paid him what he's worth, frankly.
What's his? I'm not around Clemson football. I'm covering the Pac-12 out this direction. But what's his secret sauce? What is it that makes Dabo Swinney at Clemson such a perfect fit, such a right fit? And what is it over the years now? I think he's is he year 6 or 7? Where's he at? Maybe 8?
He was elevated, I think, receivers coach, interim coach in 2009.
So it's almost a decade.
10 years, yeah, a decade.
So why has he been so successful, Dennis?
Well, I've always said in general, outside of the SEC, Clemson and Florida State run their programs like SEC teams, schools. And he was just the first one really to energize that at Clemson on a consistent basis. He's a hell of a recruiter. He's a walk-on receiver at Alabama, so I guess he's an offensive guy. But I really got into it a few years ago when they played in the championship game for the first time, I think in 16, when he held court on Media Day about how they have their motto is just to have fun. And it sounds trite and it sounds cliche, but they really do. I visited I was there last week, and I visited the new facility, which everybody raves about, $65 million. They have a slide. They have a recreation of Howard's Rock, where they come down the hill, that they've actually built a mini one in to the facility where fans can come over, and every time they press a button, Brent Musburger's on the air saying, "This is the most compelling 25 seconds in sports," when Clemson runs down that hill. And the SID there was, he goes, in the off season, I hear that about 6 or 7 times a day from my office, and it just drives me crazy. That's another story. But they do have fun. But when they go to meetings there will be 120 players on the second floor who take the slide down one at a time to the meeting room for their full-on team meeting, and make it quite a sight. But that's what he does.
Whatever he's doing it well, and he seems to have an infectious personality. Obviously, no matter where you go, you've got to recruit well. But as we've seen, and I'm going to transition this to Utah in a minute, but recruiting well isn't always good enough, because USC's recruited well for years, and they've got a culture issue at USC, and they haven't won big really since Pete Carroll left. But Clay Helton and Steve Sarkisian and Lane Kiffin all still recruited 5-star guys, but they didn't translate those 5 stars in high school to 5 stars on the college field. Clearly, Swinney is doing that down there. But I wanted to bring it to Kyle Whittingham for a minute. I know you're going to talk to Kyle down in Phoenix while you're there. Mm-hmm. They put another 5 guys in the NFL with the draft this year in what was a good year. Next year will be a better year for them. They got 9 all told, 4 more signed free agent contracts. Pick Six Previews did a little piece yesterday that basically said from the 2013 to the 15 recruiting classes, which was the 17, 18, and 19 drafts, nobody did a better job of developing their talent and then putting it in the NFL based on where they were coming out of high school than what Utah did. And he's done it for years, did it in the Mountain West too. So you're an outsider. I'm curious. I have my views because I'm close to the program, but I'd be curious what you think Kyle Whittingham's secret's been and why he's had so much success, not just on the field, but then taking those guys and putting them in the NFL as well.
Well, I think the most important thing was carrying it on after Urban. And Urban was only there, 2 years, but he positioned that program for greatness. I would say much like Nick Saban did with LSU, and much credit to Les Miles for carrying it on. 2 different conferences, 2 different philosophies, 2 different time frames, but similar to that, Kyle kept that thing going, and not only going, but got them into the Pac-12. There's no other bigger accomplishment than he's done there at Utah. And with style of play, as I mentioned somebody on the radio today, so very, very physical. That's never going to change. They've challenged for conference titles. I think they've got a great chance of winning it this year, the division for sure, and going on again and playing for the Pac-12 title. But I don't know if there's a secret. I mean, I think if you just look at Kyle Whittingham, he's just the guy that's going to work hard and get guys and put players on the field. And whenever you come to Rice-Eccles, you better strap it on. I mean, that's the best thing you can say about that team. Well, and again, to keep that legacy going, as short as it was with Urban Meyer, and getting 2 bowl wins, 2 big-time bowl wins over major conference teams, over Power 5 teams, is just fantastic. And I don't think he's peaked yet. I asked him about, you mentioned 5 guys in the NFL, and I didn't know. I go, "Is that your high?" And he goes, "No, we've had 8. I didn't even know that. So, like you said, it could be better next year.
Yeah, next year could have 3 or 4 guys potentially go in the first couple of rounds. We're talking to Dennis Dodd from CBS Sports here on the Bill Riley Show. I think, and it kind of goes back to what I hinted at with USC, I think in collegiate sports, but in sports in general, you've got to foster a good culture. You have to know who you are and stick with what your philosophy is, but build a good culture. Dabo Swinney's got a great culture there. Nick Saban's fostered a great one there at Alabama. Kirby Smart in a short time has done it at Georgia. Lincoln Kennedy's built on it with Stoops, and I think Kyle Whittingham has a culture that he's built, a family culture here, and it's worked. Chris Peterson's turned that thing around in 5 years at Washington too. And then you look at some schools that get a lot of talent, but their culture hasn't necessarily been good, and SC might be one of those places. UCLA might be one of those places as well, and those coaches are trying to change those things.
Well, at a place like USC, you can't. They won what they do. They won the They won the Rose Bowl in the Pac-12 in back-to-back years, and then had the audacity to go 5-7. The USC's only finished below 500 13 times in its history. I think we're talking about more than 100 years. I may be wrong, but and so that doesn't sit well with those people. And yeah, the culture's wrecked now, but it's for a lot of reasons. It's just been a series of embarrassments for the school and the program. Lynn Swan, I don't think is qualified to be an AD. In the middle of this giant academic admissions scandal, he's out signing autographs on the East Coast. The university has already paid out $215 million in a class action suit because a former campus gynecologist abused people over a period of 30 years. This all goes together when you're a university like USC, and now they don't look like they're going to be very good. Although JT Daniels again is back, and I think they have the 4 best receivers. Defensively, they're going to be lacking, but I think they'll bounce back a little bit. But that's not what USC wants. They want championships.
Well, you mentioned him a minute ago. Urban the opportunist is what I love to call him. He took the Utah job for a reason because he knew there was a lot of talent here, and he also knew after his first year it was going to be a short stay. He didn't go to Notre Dame, Dennis. He went to Florida because he knew he could win quicker, and then the heart issue cleared up at Florida, and then he went to Ohio State. And I think the headaches may clear up very soon after he does a little Fox Sports television down in L.A. Would you guess, and I saw something today that Reggie Bush came out publicly that said he and Matt Leinart are going to start recruiting Urban if the season goes bad for USC.
I saw it today, and apparently it was a note in the L.A. Times like a week ago, like 6 days ago. I completely missed it, but got onto it today to the point that, Reggie Bush at least was here last night. Matt Leinart is still here, and Urban Meyer's supposed to come in because he works for Fox now. But yeah, he said we are openly recruiting Urban Meyer. Clay Helton has to at least win the division. Wow, to add another layer of stuff at USC. Who needs that? With Reggie Bush, who's permanently disassociated from even stepping on campus, to say that, that doesn't help. I think Clay Helton's a decent coach. I think he's a decent man, but obviously he's under pressure. But nobody needs that. And I think in answer to the question you were going to ask, I think Urban Meyer's definitely coming back, probably as soon as next year, whether it's USC or somewhere else.
Yeah, I don't think for a minute that he's done coaching football, not at his age, but whether it's at SC or someplace else remains to be seen. But I like Clay Helton a lot. He's always been very good to me. I've had a lot of interaction with him in his time at USC. I think he's a guy that's in a tough position, and it's not being made any tougher by his support or lack thereof from the administration and now apparently the alumni too.
Yeah, no, I think you're right on all those counts. You've got a new president there. We've got our own issues. Carol Folt was at North Carolina when the academic fraud decision was handed down, and she, despite what people will say, she was a part of that. Even though the investigation ended in 2011, the wrongdoing ended in 2011. She went along with a school policy that said, all these students had this class available. This wasn't a football thing. And to that I say, so what? It's an absolute joke. I saw the documents. I saw the papers they had to produce. It was a class that didn't meet. It doesn't matter if it was other students were able to take advantage of. That being said, she's the new president at North Carolina, and I think anybody can see through a crystal ball that she's going to blow everybody out who's accountable in the athletic department, including Clay Helton if he doesn't win enough, Lynn Swan because he isn't competent enough, and they're going to have to start over next year, which might look pretty good for Urban Meyer.
Hey, what do you make of what we've seen so far from the new and improved transfer portal and how it's impacting college football? Are we just one step away from out-and-out free agency where guys can just go?
Well, they can call it that, but it is what it is, and it's not going away. I said when coaches talk about, they're really talking, when they criticize it, they're really talking about roster management. And that's really a trivial matter when you're making millions of dollars and you're a guy like Nick Saban who says, am I going to have to change the way I coach, which he said last year. And to that I said, yeah, maybe. It doesn't seem like a big deal to me. But, free agency, no, nothing's changed except they put their name in this portal. They still have to sit out a year. There's a separate discussion about getting a waiver appeal and becoming eligible right away. That's totally unrelated to what we're talking about. Put your name in a portal, and the best thing that happens is the school and or the coach can't block you. You can't have a situation where Bill Snyder at Kansas State can block a backup receiver because he doesn't like him from 35 schools. That's like 30% or 40% of FBS. You can't have a situation where at Alabama, Nick Saban could block a backup center from going to the Citadel because they're on the schedule the next year. That's outrageous. And you leave these guys to their own devices and their own power, and they're always going to abuse. This is a more than fair rule change. It doesn't change the game all that much. These guys have so much control and so much power. They lose a little bit in this case, and they should. I don't have any sympathy for them.
Last thing for you, you're down there at the Pac-12 meetings. Obviously, Larry Scott's been talked about and written about, and the conference image has as well. I've said this for a long time when people ask me about marketing things and making things better. The best thing you can do in sports is win. And if the Pac-12 wins in football or basketball, the image and the overall view of the conference will get better. They put a lot of guys in the NFL. I think they had the third most guys go in the NFL draft, and that helps a little bit, but ultimately it's wins on the field. Where do you kind of view where things are? Have things gotten any better? What's kind of the vibe down in Phoenix as you've been down there, Dennis?
Well, you're right. They just have to win games. It's beyond all the criticism now. They've got to get good coaches, and they've got to win games. And it comes down to this for me. Back to Urban Meyer. He's the free agent on the board. It's what has to happen, or what schools in the Pac-12 have the means and the money to and the willingness from their board of trustees and president to hire Urban Meyer. I can think of one, maybe USC. I don't think any other school goes after him because he's going to command at least $8 million a year. That's a money issue in the Pac-12. At USC, I didn't even mention this. The way he left Ohio State wasn't very gallant, and what happened at USC and what's happening right now is not going to make a good fit. But it's all about philosophy. If Urban Meyer was on the board in any other Power 5 conference, he'd be snatched up in a second. That's a question mark in the Pac-12, and that defines the philosophy of the league right now. They win a lot of conference championships in volleyball and equestrian and in other sports, but the ones that matter, they don't, and that's become a big sore point with that league.
Dennis Dodd, he's going to be writing about the Pac-12 in the days and weeks to come. Of course, he writes about college football on a regular basis at CBSSports.com. Enjoy it. Tell all our friends down in Phoenix we said hello, and we'll talk to you again soon, Dennis, and go Blues.
All right, Bill. Yeah, thank you. Go Blues.
All right, take care. That's Dennis Dodd with us here today on The Bill Riley Show. Always good catching up with Dennis. Always got his fingers squarely on the pulse of college football and what's going on. Covered it for a long, long time. And I think he's going to be writing on Utah/Kyle Whittingham here in the next week or so. Like I said, he's putting together a bunch of pieces down there at Pac-12 Spring Fling, but I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't have a piece up on Utah. His preseason top 25 post-spring football practice looks this way. You've got Clemson at 1. You've got Alabama at 2. You've got Georgia at 3. You've got Oklahoma at 4. No real surprise. You've got LSU at number 5. Coach O, always got a ton of talent. Always got a ton of talent down there. 6, Ohio State. It'll be interesting to see what Ryan Day does with a new quarterback this year. Florida, Dan Mullen, trying to get things rolling down with the Gators. Had a good first year down there. Went from 4-7 to 10-3. Texas at 8. Michigan at 9. Oregon at 10. Notre Dame at 11. Utah at number 12. Wisconsin at 13. A&M at 14. Washington at 15. UCF at 16. 17, he's got Nebraska. Man. They were 4-8 a year ago. I think Scott Frost is a really good coach. That's a huge bounce back, having him go from 4-8 to in the top 25, but that's where he's got him at 17. Iowa State 18, Army at 19. How about the Knights? Penn State at 20, Wazoo at 21, Auburn at 22, Minnesota at 23, Northwestern at 24, Iowa at number 25. So no Stanford in the top 25 for Pac-12 schools, which is right. Nobody else in the Pac-12 South. You wouldn't put, who would you make a case for in the Pac-12 South? Nobody to be in the top 25. And I think he got the right 3 teams in the Pac-12 North. I don't think Stanford right now, they're going to have to show me, but I don't think right now they're a top 25 preseason team. And to be very fair, Washington might be a little high for my liking right now. 15 is pretty high for a team that lost 14 or 15 starters and 10 on their defense. But we'll see. Reed Dennis at CBSSports.com. That's CBSSports.com. All right, coming up, going to do a little topical trivia. I've got 4 tickets to see RSL on Saturday night against the Portland Timbers and a gift card to Freebird's World Burritos, who were kind enough to bring in a little lunch today on the Bill Riley Show. Brought in burrito bowls today for the crew. Mitch got a little protein in him. Cyrus and Brady got a little protein in them as well from Freebird's World Burritos. They cater. They deliver with Uber Eats and DoorDash and all those places. And you go find their locations in Sandy and in Sugar House. It's Freebird's World Burritos. Back with a little trivia. We'll update the poll questions as well. Read some of your tweets and texts coming up. It is the Bill Riley Show on ESPN 700.
It's time for today's topical trivia test on the Bill Riley Show, presented by Bad Apple. Bill will give out a question on a topic from today's show. If you call in at 877-353-0700 with a correct answer, you win a prize. Now let's get today's topical trivia test question on Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700.
All right, today's topical trivia test here on ESPN 700. Going to give you a gift card to Freebird's World Burritos. They were kind enough to bring lunch in this week. They're What's for Lunch here on the Bill Riley Show. 2 locations, Sugar House and Sandy. That's Freebird's World Burritos. Also, we'll give you a 4-pack of tickets to see RSL and the Portland Timbers coming up on Saturday night at Rio Tinto Stadium. 7 o'clock start time. Our Weight Vision pregame show with Lauren Mason-Beck and Spencer Warren begins at 6 with a 7 o'clock start time. So the Weight Vision pregame show at 6 and then kickoff from Rio Tinto at 7. If you can answer my topical trivia test question tonight, obviously a big game tonight between the Houston Rockets and the Golden State Warriors. Warriors lead that series 1-0. Officiating is a big story in that series. Who is the controversial referee who has been added to the team tonight, who will be part of the team? A referee who is part of the officiating crew tonight, who is a bit controversial when it comes to this series and the Houston Rockets. If you can name that referee, please do it. 877-353-0700 will get you in and on board today. Who is the referee that's a bit controversial who will be part of the officiating crew tonight for the Rockets and the Golden State Warriors? Get dialing. Mitch will get you on with me. We'll get an answer to topical trivia. And if you get it right, we'll give you that gift card to Freebirds and give you a chance to go see RSL and Portland coming up on Saturday night. We were talking about draft earlier today and talking about players that will go possibly in the first round next year, certainly be among the first to go. Texter 4699 says, I don't think he'll go highest, but I could see Javelin Guidry jumping into the third or second round. Maybe. Jab's a nickel corner. He is very, very good, and he will be on an NFL roster at some point in time. Second or third round, who knows? We'll see how those projections go. Let's see. Texter 1893 says, I don't think the Millers have ever prevented Dennis Lindsey from spending money. I think Dennis is good about how he evaluates the roster. No, I agree with that. I said that earlier. Somebody brought up on Twitter or text that the Millers would be standing in the way, would put up some sort of a fight. I don't think that's the case. I've never gotten the sense that the Millers have put the kibosh in recent years. I know years ago, Larry didn't want to spend money to bring in a point guard. They had a chance to bring in Tony Parker, and they opted to choose Raul Lopez instead because they could stash him overseas for a year. But I haven't gotten that sense in recent years. Texter 4646 says, my publication was Street and Smith's basketball, and the football annuals were the pre-internet information Bibles. Yeah. I was asking earlier because we found out today that ESPN, the magazine, which has been published now for about 21 years, is no more, not going to be around anymore. It's going bye-bye as of September, at least the magazine edition of it. Obviously, the online part will still be there. But I was asking what your go-to sports magazine was growing up. Sporting News, Sports Illustrated, ESPN, the magazine, or maybe something else. For me, I was a Sporting News guy first, and then I got all of them. 7% said Sporting News, 81% said Sports Illustrated, 7% said ESPN, the magazine. RCJ41 says Sport Magazine, then SI. Chris James says they used to have SI for kids. I'd get that in the library at my elementary school. Maybe that qualifies as SI. Sure, yeah. Ken Slagle says Sporting News was great back in the day. Emphasis on baseball. Good coverage of minor league stuff, too. Love You says I'd be shocked if ESPN, the magazine, was ever profitable. Maybe it wasn't. May not have been. Tom Zawelski says, as a kid, SI growing up, I remember writing a letter, though, to Hal Leibovitz, who penned the Ask the Referee column for Sporting News, asking about a double play I saw where the runner at second was called out for interference. I may have been 10. He wrote me back. And Cody Connors says, I still have a subscription to SI. These magazines dying make me a little sad. Not going to lie. I feel you, Cody. Changing of the times, though, my man. Changing of the times. The other question I asked today is, it was NBA related. As the Jazz put together their offseason, their summer shopping list, what should be at the top? Point guard, wing scorer, stretch four, or maybe something else. Right now, had the poll up for about almost 3 hours. 51% of you guys are saying point guard. 38% of you are saying wing scorer. And 10% right now are saying stretch four. So you can cast your vote on that poll question and let me know. As I said, the guy I'd love to see the Jazz make a huge push for, try to recruit his tail here, is Kemba Walker. Would love to see he and Donovan Mitchell. I don't think it's realistic based on what I've heard, but you never know. We shall see. See if we can get an answer for topical trivia today here on ESPN 700. Dylan is up first. Hey, Dylan, how are you?
I'm doing great.
So who is the controversial, or so they say, referee on tonight's crew?
Definitely controversial is Scott Foster.
It is indeed Scott Foster. The Rockets have an issue with him. I think a lot of people in the NBA probably have an issue with Scott Foster. Has not officiated a Rockets game since late February. But he'll be on the crew tonight. And Gordy told us earlier today, Gordy said, no problem with that. Said the NBA's got to do what the NBA's got to do. You cannot cater to teams. Okay. If Gordy says it, that's good enough for me. So congratulations there, Dylan. Send you down to see RSL and Portland on Saturday night, and give you a little lunch or dinner on us at Freebird's World Burritos. 2 locations. 1 location in Sandy, 1 in Sugar House. By the way, Champions League going on right now. Ajax and Tottenham. Ajax up in the 36th minute in the UCL semifinals. UEFA Champions League. The Dutch side trying to get by the English side today. They're in the 36th minute. 1-0 is the score. More Champions League coming up tomorrow. Hey, I want to remind you, too, if something's happened to your automobile, your car, maybe it's something as small as a fender bender, big scratches, some jerk keyed you in a parking lot someplace, or maybe you did some damage yourself. You were backing out, you hit your mailbox. I don't know. We all do a little damage to our car from time to time, and we got to get it back looking nice again because nobody wants to drive around in a beater. We all see those cars cruising up and down the freeway on State Street, wherever it might be. You know, those people that have had one too many wrecks and their car just looks like crap. Don't let your car get that way. Go see the folks at Everest Collision Repair. They'll take good care of you. They'll take good care of your car, get it back to looking brand new again, do it at a great price, too. They'll work with you. They'll work with your insurance company. They'll work with a rental car company if you need to get into one of those and get your car looking new again. About a year ago at this time, I did some damage to my car. Guess what? Somebody here at the office at the radio station said, go see Everest Collision Repair. They did great work with me, and I did. And about 6 months after that, they asked me if I wanted to do some commercials for them. So I did. I believe in them. They did great work for me. They'll do great work for you, too. All you got to do is visit them in Salt Lake, Sandy, or Tooele. That's their 3 Utah locations. They're locally owned, locally operated, and do a fantastic job. Go by and see them. They'll work with you and your insurance company. They'll take all that burden off you and handle all the business for you at Everest Collision Repair. You can visit them online as well at everestcollisionrepair.com. Tell them Bill Riley sent you in to Everest Collision Repair. Quick timeout. Back with a little crosstalk with the boys, Gunther and Ben, who come your way next here on ESPN 700.
It's almost 2 o'clock, which means the Bill Riley Show is coming to an end, and Gunther and Ben are getting ready for your drive home. The shows will now collide on Crosstalk. Now here's Bill Riley, Kyle Gunther, and Ben Anderson on Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700.
Well, we do it every day at this time. It's brought to us by Fink and McGregor. Not just Fink, not just McGregor. Fink and McGregor. Mortgages made simple. It's Crosstalk with Gunther and Ben, and Ben's brought his hummus in, and he's ready to devour some pita chips and hummus. Is that what I'm guessing you're going to have today?
Veg.
Oh, some veggies, some pre-cut, pre-wrapped veggies,
Some peas, some broccoli, and some carrots.
and some hummus. Where's your boatload of pasta?
I've got it here, but I am thinking about getting a big bolt of estrogen into my system. So maybe I'll have half a Ben's lunch there, see if I can grow some earrings out or something, or, just get in touch with my feminine side. Are you going to sprinkle some soy on that as well?
Why not? Feeling good today. Get a good start to the day.
Is that a new haircut that you have as well?
No, it's not.
Oh, you've just done a little something to it today. You've
raining
spent
outside.
spent a little bit more time
Okay.
on the hair today.
Ran my hands through it after I walked through the rain for the
Nicely
38th time this year so far.
Bill, let me ask you a question. If you had an umbrella in a situation like today and you saw one of us walking and we were walking adjacent to one another, we had talked, would you let one of us in under your umbrella?
Now, is it a golf umbrella or is it just your standard pocket umbrella?
Pocket. It was a pocket.
Personal
Believe it or not,
umbrella.
this is not a hypothetical.
Well, the pocket umbrella is not real big, but I do my best to split it down. If it's just the two of us, or is it 3 of us?
Well, that's mighty kind of you. No, just 2.
Yeah, I do my best to share it with you. If it was
that's
pouring
great.
down rain.
Well,
Oh,
Bill,
that's
you're a
great.
better man than me. I didn't share it with Kyle.
Ben made me
Selfish.
walk behind him. We happened to see each other in the parking lot.
Selfish.
And on the way in, I said, hey, let me get some of that umbrella, bro.
And he just kept walking.
He turned me down. You see, my umbrella was destroyed a couple of weeks ago in a windstorm.
I saw the video of that.
It was basically just a bunch of sharp metal, pointy objects spinning around me. There was no cover. I think it had completely ripped in half. So that's what you get when you buy a $6 umbrella from Walmart.
I'm all for the $6 umbrella, though,
Yeah.
because it's not very often, especially if you're on the short walk, that it's going to turn you inside out and you're going to be in trouble. I'm okay with that. I have a golf umbrella that I keep in my golf bag, though I don't play very much golf anymore. Those are great. All 3 of us and John Chunga and maybe even Mitch could get under a golf umbrella and walk together.
Who
but
holds it?
That'd be me.
You think
It's
holding
my-
it's a power move?
I mean, well, it's my umbrella.
Okay, when you get wealthy, you don't hold your own umbrella.
I'm
So I
not
don't
gonna-
know. I don't
I'm
know
gonna
what. I
ask-
don't know the.
What, am I going to ask somebody to hold my umbrella
You don't
for
ask.
me?
You
Puff
make-
Daddy did.
You make somebody do it.
Puff Daddy paid somebody for a while.
That's a different world
to do that.
that Diddy is in
Well,
than I am.
and also, that's mighty giving of you, Bill, because you know that's going to be the easiest point for lightning to strike.
It's true.
So if you're holding that,
But by the way, we're all doomed. It's not just going to come down the pole on
Correct.
me. If lightning strikes and there's 4 of us under the umbrella, we're all getting it.
well, you know what you should do if you're golfing and there's a lightning storm? Grab your 2-iron. Because not even God can hit a 2-iron.
Not even God can hit the 2-iron. Very good.
I stole that joke from a wise man. His name, Ben Anderson.
Really? That does not sound like a
Sounds
Ben
like,
Anderson
I think it was
joke.
your dad's joke.
It was a father-in-law joke.
Yeah. By the way, I used to work at a golf course for about 4 years. I did maintenance. I was the guy digging ditches and
Bill Murray.
mowing and stuff. Yeah, I was kind of one of Bill Murray's underlings. And when in the Midwest, you get lightning and thunderstorms all the time. And we'd have to go out in our Cushman turf trucksters, 3-speeders, and pick golfers up off the course if they were out away from shelters and stuff and get them there. And one day I've got like 3 golfers on this metal little truckster of mine. We're flying in, going 30 miles an hour down the cart path. And lightning literally struck right next to us. Hit a tree 25, 30 feet off the cart path. Let me just tell you, it's loud, and you don't recover your hearing very quickly after lightning strikes near where you're at. It was scary.
Lightning's a real phenomenon that we take for granted, how insane that process is of electric bolts shocking the ground. But because it's been here our whole life, we just accept it.
Yeah, I think in certain parts, too, of the country where, like here, we don't get lots of rain and thunderstorms and lightning. It's up in the air, but we don't get a lot of it in the Midwest. Or if you live in Florida where there's water, a lot of water, people don't take it as for granted there as they do in other parts.
There's a lot of ancient mythical stories about gods interacting with human beings.
Man, those people were stupid.
Disobeying
lightning.
orders. Well, hold on here, because there were stories about them teaching man how to create fire, and then there's all these ideas of gods battling each other to whether or not to give human beings the knowledge. Many cultures have written about this. It goes back thousands of years. And you think about it, and the first time you made fire could have just been you seen a lightning strike.
Yep.
A tree caught on fire.
You chased it.
Get
that.
You kept it. You put it on another piece of wood. You realize somehow that helps you cook things. And then you just keep that bad boy going. Keep it lit. I think that's a lot more likely of a scenario.
Pretty plausible.
How about Tom Hanks? You guys like Castaway? You ever watch Castaway?
Sure.
Where he made fire?
Yep.
And he celebrated the fire after he made it. It's one of those movies I stop on, no matter where it's at, and watch it. I was always fascinated because I fly a lot for work. The plane crash scene in there. I think that's probably about the most realistic plane going down scene that we've probably seen in movies, the way they handle that and all that stuff. But I always stop on Castaway where he's making fire or he and Wilson are hanging out.
That's why Man vs. Wild and Bear Grylls are people. Yeah. Something in guys just want to watch other men survive. We just want to watch people do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to have to do it. I'm always encouraged by the fact that because I've watched Castaway, I do okay.
I take Gunther as a naked and afraid kind of a guy. Yeah. You a naked and afraid guy on Discovery? Isn't that Discovery Channel?
Well, you can't have one without the other.
That's what you call Sundays at Kyle Gunther's house.
Yeah, I mean, I've rarely been one without the other. They kind of pair well with each other. It is worth noting that if we were all involved in a plane crash situation, I would not hesitate to eat one of us within a matter of hours.
Hours?
I get hungry real quick. And I'm looking at you, JP. You're the smallest. You're the cutest. You're just going to go down real quiet.
Also, not much meat on that bone.
Yeah, but that's the thing is it's going to wet your beak a little bit, and then we're going to see which one of us has to step up and eat Bill Riley. Because
by the way, he does get freak out. At Pac-12 Media Days a couple of years ago, we went like 4 hours on the air, and it was like a 7-hour day, and he hadn't had any food. And he started freaking out that he needed to go get something to eat. Has he ever forgotten his pasta or food on air?
Yes.
And lost his mind?
Yes. When he forgets lunch, it becomes a catastrophe.
Oh, my gosh.
The whole company knows about it.
I thought he was kidding around, and he's like, I got to get up. And he literally got up and left and it was like 15 minutes later, he was back again. But
I'm bonking.
Do you remember that?
I got to eat.
Oh, my God.
You got to feed this machine. I run out of gas. Yeah. I get cranky, real cranky.
I thought it was like one of those Snickers commercials.
Yes,
You're not yourself.
Right.
I almost had to get him a Snickers.
You know, in fact, anytime you're around me, would you mind having one available just in case?
See that cabinet down there? There's always Snickers in that bottom cabinet.
I'm telling you,
just for you.
By about 5 p.m. every day, you know, I have to avoid actually looking at Ben in the face because Ben
eats me.
No, well, he sort of turns into a turkey leg, and I can see the gelatinous shape of a turkey leg.
It's like a Bugs Bunny commercial or a cartoon.
I don't want to eat him.
Start blinking.
But I absolutely would eat your uncooked, still living body just to survive here because I need food that bad. I am hungry.
Back to sports for a second. By the way, you do have food in that bag?
I do. And I'll be firing that up here in just a moment.
Okay, good.
All this talk about food is making me hungry.
Yeah.
If Dennis Lindsay's putting together his summer shopping list, what's at the top of the summer shopping list?
I think Kemba's number one. Because
you're going straight. I was going position, but
I think a point guard who can score. Because I think you need scoring and you need playmaking, and you can get a guy like Tobias Harris potentially who can give you scoring, not as much playmaking with the ball in his hands, and sometimes you're just going to have to give Donovan Mitchell a little bit more of a rest. So I think a point guard who can score the ball and take over for games, and it's not every game. You don't need somebody as good as Donovan Mitchell. If you get Kemba, who's as good as Donovan Mitchell, or in that conversation, great, you're golden. But you need a guy who 35, 40 times a game can lead your team in scoring, or 25 times a game lead your team in scoring, and give Donovan a night off.
You need Mike Conley.
Here's your problem, though. They don't have any assets to be able to trade for Mike Conley now.
Right.
They don't. I mean, what are you going to give up? I mean, what you offered at the trade deadline, they didn't want, or you didn't offer enough then. You don't have Ricky Rubio's expiring contract anymore.
Grayson Allen. Give him Dante Exum and Grayson Allen and give him a draft pick.
I don't think they want Dante. I don't think anyone wants to touch Dante.
Nobody wants Dante, especially at the price tag. And I'll be honest, I don't think anybody wants Grayson Allen right now. I think Grayson Allen at best is a 9th or 10th guy on your roster, and I don't think Memphis wants that for Mike Conley.
He's a sweetener on the end of a deal. Yeah. When they're saying, hey, we want a 2020 first-round draft pick, and you say, how about Grayson Allen instead? When you're kind of negotiating between the future asset or Grayson Allen.
Give him Derek Favors.
It's Derek Favors and Joe Ingles. I mean, that's what you'd have to move right
that's
now.
what I mean. You would have to give up two proven because you don't have – in draft picks, you're going to be good, so you're going to be drafting 23 to 30, and you don't have any tradable expiring contracts.
Right.
So it's going to have to be a draft pick or two and Ingles or a Derek Favors.
If not both. And – it has to match what the Memphis Grizzlies want now. And the problem is they're going to go young. They're going to go Jaren Jackson. Well, Jaren Jackson doesn't need Derek Favors. And then if they're young, they don't need 35-year-old Joe Ingles. I know he's 31 or 32, but he's an aged, Joe Ingles. They don't need that either. So that ship may have sailed, unfortunately. And there's going to be other teams now recognizing that Mike Conley's available that will come in and maybe offer less than the Jazz were offering at the trade deadline, but it's still going to be more than what the Jazz can offer now.
My dream pairing this summer would be Kemba Walker and Malcolm Brogdon.
Yeah.
You play Brogdon at the 3,
yep.
And then because he's 6'5", 6'6", you basically go 3 guards,
yep.
And then bring Ingles off the bench. My realistic pairing might be Mirotic and Brogdon.
Yep.
Because I don't know if Milwaukee would let that go, but I'd make a big old offer for Malcolm Brogdon, who can shoot and defend, and Nikola Mirotic to play that stretch 4 spot.
Malcolm Brogdon's in the 50-40-90 club, which nobody gets to. 50% from the floor, 40% from the three-point line, 90% from the free throw line. He only scores 15 points a game, gives you a handful of assists, gives you a couple of rebounds. But the nice thing is that efficiency teamed with Donovan Mitchell's inefficiency goes a long way, and he's a knockdown spot-up shooter.
I'd love to make a play for Rozier, but I think the Celtics are going to go all in on him if Kyrie leaves.
Yeah, if Kyrie leaves.
And I think Kyrie – it looks like Kyrie's going to leave.
It's going to be interesting. We'll be curious to see what happens tonight.
You guys have an interview coming up. What do you got coming on the show?
Reed Foregrave's going to join us, talking some NBA playoffs. We'll even talk a little NBA draft, what it's looking like, where the Jazz are in about a month and a half. And then Dan Sorensen's going to join us at 4.
That's all coming up with Gunther and Ben, and I will hold the umbrella for both these guys in the rain.
Thanks,
all
Bill.
Right. You're welcome. We'll see you tomorrow. This is the Bill Riley Show, ESPN 700.